Tonight, Donald Trump not backing down in his fight to win over African-American voters. The Trump campaign announcing he will travel to Detroit over Labor Day weekend, visit a black church, something he has not yet done during the course of the campaign. But will this work? It's also leading to outrage for some. Dana Bash is out front.
Off the campaign trail Monday, but never off Twitter, Donald Trump's rapid-fire tweets are almost all about his new focus, the black vote. Look how bad it's getting, he tweeted. How much more crime, how many more shootings will it take for African Americans and Latinos to vote Trump equals safe? And now that African Americans are seeing what a bad job Hillary-type policy and management has done to the inner cities, they want Trump. Trump started appealing to black voters as his new team took over earlier this month.
What do you have to lose? You're living in poverty.
His advisors insist he has the capacity to make inroads with working-class blacks, using some of the same arguments he makes with working-class whites, that the system is rigged against them.
I'm asking for the vote of every single African-American citizen in this country who wants to see a better future.
But this weekend, Trump was slammed for taking that outreach into tasteless territory. When basketball star Dwayne Wade's cousin was shot and killed by a stray bullet while walking with her kids, Trump tweeted, "Dwayne Wade's cousin was just shot and killed walking her baby in Chicago. Just what I've been saying. African Americans will vote Trump." Later on the trail, he tried a more tactful approach.
She was the mother of 4 and was killed while pushing her infant child in a stroller just walking down the street. Shot. We have to solve our inner city problems, and we will. I will fix it.
Then there's Trump's case against Clinton.
Hillary Clinton is a bigot.
An argument he's now using to back that up is that one of Clinton's Senate mentors was the late Robert Byrd, who was briefly in the KKK as a young man. Yet Byrd had long disavowed that, which he reiterated with us a decade ago.
And you have said that one of your biggest regrets is briefly being a member of the Ku Klux Klan.
I've been accustomed to people asking me the question about the Klan, and I've never hesitated to say that was the greatest mistake of my life.
Team Clinton is responding to Trump's attack with what she calls his steady stream of race baiting.
Donald Trump would be best for the job.
For president.
Yeah.
I am a farmer and white nationalist. Support Donald Trump.
Making headway with black voters is an uphill climb for any GOP presidential candidate. Trump is only getting 2% in the latest Pew survey. Yet Trump is still trying. Next Saturday, Labor Day weekend, at the start of the final push to Election Day, he'll be in Detroit visiting a black church.
Now, the Trump campaign announced that upcoming trip to Detroit with a statement from Pastor Mark Burns, one of Trump's most outspoken African-American supporters. This afternoon, Pastor Burns sent a very controversial tweet that depicted Hillary Clinton in blackface, telling black Americans, "Thank you for letting me use you again." Now, Aaron, tonight, Burns is standing by and defending that tweet, even as he was pressed hard by my friend Kristen Welker at MSNBC about whether it was appropriate. He's saying it entirely is.
All right. Thank you very much. And we'll just put that back up on the screen so I can go straight to you, Paris. You sit here as an African-American supporter of Donald Trump. Is that tweet too far?
It's not a tweet that I would have sent out, but I do understand the point that Pastor Burns is making as it relates to Hillary Clinton and how she takes advantage, and a lot of Democrats, in my opinion, take advantage of the black vote and just use it as a voting block and not as something that they're really concerned about. When you look at crime, when you look at educational stances and the educational position that they take against school choice and charter schools and things of that nature as it relates to these urban cities, Democrats have failed our community.
All right, but you're saying, but you wouldn't have said it in that way.
You would not
have done that.
No.
Keith.
It's totally offensive. It's typical Trump surrogate strategy. The idea that Trump is the guy, first of all, who said that laziness is a trait among black people. He said he wouldn't want to have a black accountant because he likes to have Jews handle his money. He's the guy. Let me finish. Like I let you finish. He's the guy who started out his career with a racial discrimination lawsuit against him for housing discrimination here in New York City. I live in Harlem. I took the subway down here. It's one stop on the A train to 59th Street. Donald Trump lives one stop away and hasn't visited New York City's own black community, why does he have to go to white people time and time again and talk to them about us? Why can't he come and talk to us? Why does he have to be pressured to do it? It's pressured to do it after a year on the campaign.
That's not
How
true.
do you? We has not done one single event in the African American community in more than a year, almost a year and a half of campaigning. How is that justifiable? How can you say that he's making a serious outreach to African Americans?
I can say he's making a serious outreach to African Americans because you see him talking about the issues that affect our community on a regular basis. This is a very significant thing for any Republican candidate to be doing. Now, would you go back to the fact that when he was a Republican, running for the Republican nomination, the black community is not a large voting bloc in the Republican primary, and so he did not need to do that type of engagement with the black community at that time. So so at the very moment he became the GOP nominee, you saw him have a deliberate uptick in his direct engagement. But before that, there were organizations
incorrect.
like, actually not true. That
Okay,
what I'm saying is the truth. The National Diversity
Coalition
Coalition for Trump was created during the primary season, and that consisted of African Americans as well as a lot of Hispanics and Jews and people.
The primary ended in May or June. We've had now several months for Donald Trump to visit the African American community. He has not done so. He had to be pressured to do this. And then they go to this church to do an interview with a black pastor. Why wouldn't he speak to the black journalist? He won't even go to the National Association of Black Journalists Convention. He was offered an invitation, he declined. He wouldn't go to the NAACP. He wouldn't go to the Urban League. This is not a man who is taking the African American vote seriously. And the idea, Paris, that you would come here and suggest something otherwise is an offense. That's why he's getting 2% of the African American vote. It's not about the black card.
Yeah, it is.
It's about reality.
It is.
You represent 1 to 2% of the African American population, and that's the Pew poll just came out a second ago on the television screen. Don't try to change the reality.
8%.
Let's just deal with the facts. Donald Trump will not get the black vote support. He's not trying to get the black vote support. He's trying to reach white voters in the suburbs, and he's making this fake appeal to African Americans to convince them. But he's not talking to us.
He is
and he
talking
had
to
to
me.
be pressured to do it.
Okay,
No, he didn't. That's just patently false. What Mr. Trump
What
is doing.
false?
That he is not engaging with the black community, that he has not been doing it for a consistent basis. He has met multiple times.
Name one time when he met with the African American community. When did he go to our community? When did he come to our community? He doesn't even come to Harlem where I live.
You know what? Let's just talk about. Let's just go back to the time in New York that you referenced when Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jackson needed.
Let's go back to the Central Park 5 that he wanted to execute.
Let me finish. When Reverend Jackson needed space, when he opened up Rainbow Push in the project that he needed for the economy.
That was an economic decision. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump's history of racism.
Except for Donald Trump.
Jackson what he thinks about Donald Trump today.
Well, we can go to YouTube and see him have glowing remarks about it. And when Donald Trump owned Mar-a-Lago, when he became the owner of that property, he opened it up to African Americans and Jews when it was unpopular to do so.
Laziness is a trait among blacks, says Donald Trump.
He never said that. On this issue of race.
It's in the book.
On this issue of race, I just want to play again what the 49ers quarterback, Colin Kaepernick, said about why he wouldn't stand up during the national anthem, and then play what Donald Trump just said to respond to that. All right, so here is Colin Kaepernick.
You have Hillary, who's called black teens or black kids super predators. You have Donald Trump, who's openly racist. I mean, we have a presidential candidate who's deleted emails and done things illegally and is a presidential candidate. That doesn't make sense to me, because if that was any other person, you'd be in prison. So what is this country really standing for?
Slammed both candidates, and he said he didn't stand because of how minorities are being treated in this country. Kaylee, to that, Donald Trump directly responded to him in an interview today, and here's Donald Trump.
I think it's personally not a good thing. I think it's a terrible thing, and he'll maybe he should find a country that works better for him. Let him try. It won't happen.
Yeah, productive response?
Absolutely. Look, men and women have bled and died for that flag and that anthem. And to sit there and to not honor that, the deaths, the people who have give him the opportunity to make $17 million in this country, the freedoms of this country, that is absolutely an appropriate response. And I just quickly have to respond to what you said, because I can't allow falsehoods to be said. You're referring to one person who alleged that Donald Trump made a claim about a trait about laziness. There's an entire book by Secret Service officer Gary Byrne that we don't refer to on this network because it's one person's word against a candidate. You're referring to one person's word against Donald Trump and to malign a man who opened his floor to the...
What about the that's Central Park
No,
5. The
you like to
advertisement is right
filibuster
there.
people, but you've got to let me finish. He was the first candidate to stand on that stage, a debate stage, Republican debate stage, and say he wanted the Confederate flag in South Carolina to come down. This is a man who opened his door to the Rainbow Push Coalition, and there's glowing praise by Jesse Jackson. He is not a racist man, and it's sad to see people characterize him.
Let him apologize for birtherism.
Why is it, Kaylee, that over and over again we see in polls that around 60% of the American people believe that he is racist and bigoted? And that is why you see this kind of fake outreach to African Americans, to Latinos, so that he can possibly try to erase some of that bigoted image, racist image to college-educated white voters. Because if he loses college-educated white voters, which he is right now, and especially college-educated women, there is no path to 270 for him.
All right, thank you to all staying with us. Next, Donald Trump telling Hillary Clinton that he will release his health records if she releases hers. Dr. Sanjay Gupta next. And who is Huma Abedin?